Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Space Rocks Tarot. Today, we are starting the Sunday study series where we are studying the tarot. And of course, we're beginning with the major arcana. And naturally, the Fool card, card number 0, is where we will begin. The series is going to take us through all 78 cards of the tarot. And again, of course, beginning with the Fool card, which is very appropriate in this situation because this is a new channel. This is a new adventure for me. I'm kind of taking a leap of faith like the Fool, though I'm trying to make sure that I watch underneath. I watch out for cliffs and things. So we'll see how that goes. But thank you again for tuning in. Thank you for the support. We're going to get started here. We're going to first begin by speaking to the traditional Rider-Waite. And I like to actually call it the Rider-Waite Smith card because Miss Smith did the art for the card and does not get recognition in the name of the deck. And I find that to be a little bit typical. But at the same time, if we refer to it as Rider-Waite Smith, then we are remembering her and acknowledging her for her contribution. Okay, so here we have my notes, my personal notes. I'm creating this little journal of interpretations of the tarot. And we're, of course, starting with the Fool. And here we have it, color-coded by decks. I have 8 decks here we're going to talk about today. Of course, starting with the traditional interpretation, right? All the other decks have different interpretations and give us different feelings, but we want to know first in our studies, what is the traditional meaning? What's the traditional interpretation? And that is, just as it says in the keywords section there at the top of my page, new beginnings, a new journey, fresh energy, optimism, optimistic trust in life, and hopeful for a carefree, clean slate. That's what the Fool card traditionally represents. But at the same time, we might have new beginnings, we might have a new journey, we might have fresh energy, but the depiction of the figure in the card, in this case, I view this as a masculine figure, but of course it could be any gender. This figure, he seems to be carefree in the extreme, right? He's walking off a cliff and not paying attention to what's below his feet. He's looking up. Rachel Pollack's book also notes the white rose that he's holding in his hand, and he's kind of holding it up to the sky, right? And white rose, of course, roses represent passion, the white being pure. So the white rose here is representing pure passion, but he has it raised at a higher level, right? He's holding that pure passion up at a higher level. And not just that, but he's also carrying a bag, right? He's got a stick with a bag attached to the end of it. In this case, actually, the stick is a wand. But he's carrying it in such a way where we don't even notice almost. Like, we have to really pay attention to what is in this card to see that he's holding a wand as a stick that's carrying this bag. And I see this as a bag of experience. Right? He's taking his past with him, but at the same time, he is not letting it bother him. He is to the extreme not letting it bother him, right? There's a warning here, of course, like don't walk off the cliff without paying attention to your feet. And the dog here, his companion, his friend, this dog doesn't want to see him walk off the cliff and die, right? The dog wants to see him live and succeed and be everything he can be. So the dog in this picture, in the traditional picture, is kind of warning him, kind of trying to get his attention. Like, hey, look at me, look where we're going here. I also view the song Happy by Pharrell Williams kind of as an encapsulation of this card, right? That song Happy. This figure, this person, this Fool is just happy. He's so happy he's about to walk off a cliff. He's so excited for his new beginning, his new journey, that he's about to walk off a cliff. And this, of course, tells a story of the tarot, I think, honestly. I think that this card is very representative of the whole tarot. You do, of course, have the wands, and you've got a kind of a cup energy here, an emotion energy here, linking it all together. But I think that many of us, when we start with the tarot and we start learning the tarot, we kind of see it as a new beginning, right? We see it as a clean slate, and we need to try to embody that trust in life, that carefree attitude, while also paying attention to what's beneath our feet. staying humble, staying grounded, like he's looking up to the sky. He may not be very grounded. All right, next we are going to look at the Thoth version of the card. Okay, this is a very orange energy in my opinion. Oh, I meant to as well. I'll try to remember to do this for each one, but this is what the box of the Rider-Waite deck looks like in case you don't know and want to buy it. This is what you'll be looking for. It's the traditional Rider-Waite. I honestly wish it said Rider-Waite-Smith, but we already talked about that. The next card I want to talk about is the Fool card. For the Thoth deck here, we have the Fool, also card 0, as it is for all the others. And in this card, we see another, in my opinion, masculine figure, right? And this card, for me, when I see it, it says, this is the moment of divine conscience. This is it. This is the new beginning. This is the new start. Okay, not just is it the new start, but there's so many more elements encapsulated in this card. There's an element of air. We also see the Aleph symbol here down on the left. That's the first letter of the Semitic alphabet. This is the moment of divine consciousness, right? Sudden and unexpected impulses. A new beginning, a new start. As well as this card is also interpreted as the mythological figure, the green man of spring, or the great man of the Celts, right? The green clothing that he's wearing with the sun and the butterfly, and there's so much spring, the bird, there's so much spring. Not just that, but the rainbow as well. There's a rainbow that's actually beginning from his heart. And for me, it looks like there's like a rainbow sword. Like you can see that hilt of the sword that starts from his heart and goes all around the card, but of course it comes back to his heart. Spiritual matters here, ideas and thoughts which endeavor to transcend earth, the spiritual meaning kind of behind the card, as well as the material meaning. This card reveals folly, right? Eccentricity, even mania in some cases as well. So we have the elements of air, as I mentioned. We have the male element of fire. He's actually holding a wand of fire up here. As well as the female element of water. That's why I think this card really brings together the wands and the cups, more so in the Thoth card than the Rider-Waite card, in my opinion, because you literally see the fire in the cup full of water. That's the female element of water and the male element of fire. There's also a disc of earth. Well, really more than just one disc. He's holding a bag as well, just like the Rider-Waite interpretation. But his bag here is holding discs of planets, planetary discs, right? He almost holds the universe in his hands. And so much so, he's paying so much attention to all that. It's almost like that tiger here that you see biting him, grabbing onto his leg, is just not there. He's unconscious to it. He can't even see it. He can't even feel it. That's the animal as well as the lizard in this card. And there's also a white dove there that you can see. Okay, so next we will talk about the Tarot of the Divine, the version of this card. Oh, here's the Thoth box in case you don't know and want to buy it. I really like this. This is what drew me to this deck, is the infinity snake with the yin yang in it. But we'll get to that card, of course, once we make it there. But next, the Tarot of the Divine. That's this card. And I'll show you the box here. I like the back of this card as well. If you notice, it has these moons. And of course, if you turn it around, you can't tell the difference. So it goes both ways. You can reverse these cards. The Fool in this case, and here's the deck box, Tarot of the Divine. You can get this off Amazon. I think I got it on sale on Amazon a couple weeks back. But this card is depicting the Little Mermaid. I think it's fairly obvious here for anybody who's seen the movie. We have the Little Mermaid, and this figure is ready to dive out of her subconscious and into the physical world. Quite quite specifically, like to transform from an animal to a human. And we all know the story of The Little Mermaid. Well, if you don't, then I'd highly recommend watching the movie just because. But almost diving in without paying attention to exactly what's going on, without being cautious and being careful. You see the castle in the distance. She's got huge dreams. But you also see the school of fish here, right? They're almost frenzied in this depiction, as if to say, hey, watch out, watch what you're doing. This is her spirit animal guiding her, just like the dog in the traditional Rider-Waite tarot deck. I'm going to bring that picture back, bring that card back so you can kind of see them in comparison to one another. All right. And next we have one of my favorites, the Dungeons and Dragons interpretation of the tarot. We have the Fool here. This to me is a gnome bard, 100%. You've got a gnomish figure, masculine in my opinion, carrying an instrument, singing, so joyous and so happy that he's not even noticing that he's walking off a cliff. Of course, we're seeing that theme here. The sun is shining, he's excited, he's happy. Following your heart with innocence and wonder is what the guidebook says for this card. As well as the Dungeons and Dragons tarot deck. Here's the box if you're interested in buying it. I really like it because it brings up prompts as well. Okay, it brings up like a Dungeons and Dragons themed prompt. So if you're a Dungeons and Dragon nerd like me, you could potentially use this as a DM, right? You encounter a gnome who says that if you follow him, he'll lead you to a wondrous treasure. And there he is, going towards his wondrous treasure. But you got to be careful about that gnome leading you towards the wondrous treasure because he's not looking where he's going. Okay? He's not paying attention to where he's going. He's about to fall off a cliff. So you got to be careful. All right, next we have the Guardians of the Night Tarot interpretation. That's this card, the Wolf and the Rabbit. I love this card. Here's the box for that, if you're interested in this deck. Guardian of the Night Tarot. I love the owl and the red moon on the cover of that deck. And this one really speaks to me because you know how sometimes they have the writing inside the box. This one says, without darkness, there is no light. So that's kind of nice there. But the Fool card in this case is depicting a wolf seemingly chasing a rabbit. But not only are they chasing the rabbit, they're chasing it over a frozen river or frozen lake of some sort, right? And the ice there seems to be almost breaking under their feet. So this depiction of the Fool, in my opinion, is nice. There's also a duality here in the sense that the wolf, not only is he kind of trusting that the ice is going to hold him up and he's not going to fall through because, you know, he's a smart wolf. He knows what would happen if he fell through. That would be freezing cold water. But he chased the rabbit through the woods and onto the ice. And even when cracks begin to appear beneath his feet, he's almost so desperate for that rabbit that he's kind of just having faith that the ice is going to hold him. But the duality here is the rabbit also has confidence that its lighter weight and speed would be an advantage as it scurried across the ice, right? And that actually, in terms of physics, makes sense, right? A lighter animal potentially is not going to have as much of an effect on the frozen lake. But both of the creatures in this card, depicted in this card, the main characters, I guess, have a goal in mind that they both believe the ice will not fail them and they will get to their goal. All right, and there's a great adventure waiting as long as you let go of expectations of the outcome. Something of value will be gained, and who knows what it is in this card. It's interesting too, you also see the wolf in the background kind of howling. Maybe that's a warning. If you're doing a tarot reading and that howling wolf stands out to you, maybe it's indicative of the person you're doing the reading for, yourself, or whatever, that someone's warning them of something to come. Don't be a fool, right? As well as there's also an energy just in all of these cards that if you allow events to unfold, even if something appears to be different than how you expected, perhaps it'll turn out to be a pleasant twist, right? And it'll set you off on a new endeavor. Again, this whole idea I have right now, sitting here doing this Sunday study, is kind of a full moment for me, potentially. Like, who knows? I've got all these expectations in my head that things are going to turn out in a certain way, and who knows if they really will. You know, we'll see how this goes. But I will say as well, the wolf in this card, and this deck, again, the Guardian of the Night Tarot, this deck really places emphasis on the animals depicted in the pictures. So here we have the wolf, which is indicative of family, reliance, hope, teamwork, and confidence. That's kind of the air of the wolf. To the note here in this card, confidence to the point of almost foolishness. You know, who knows if that ice is really going to hold him up, and we all know what'll happen if it doesn't. As well as the rabbit, depicted in this card, abundance, reproduction, openness, creativity, and of course luck. We have the lucky rabbit. Right. All right, so next, moving on, we have the New Mystic Tarot. And interestingly enough, this is actually the first deck I ever bought. And I bought this deck, not the specific one because I ended up losing it, because you know how those things go. But I actually purchased this deck back when I was like 18 or 19 years old. Here's the box, a big box. Here's the box for this deck. Okay, this is the New Mythic Tarot. Mythic, it's so like mythology, mythological figures. We have Zeus's son depicted in this card. Zeus's son depicted as the Fool here. And a very similar figure, a very similar card to the traditional card. This deck actually stays fairly along the lines of the traditional interpretations. You just see kind of a new way of interpreting this card, a new way of seeing it. Here we have a depiction of the son of Zeus, the king of gods, at the beginning of his mortal journey. Okay, the eagle is the bird of Zeus. We see the eagle up here sitting in that tree. King of the gods, who watches over the fool as he prepares to plunge into the unknown. Not just plunge, but fall to his death potentially. The cave from which he emerges is depicting the past. Okay, just like in the Rider-Waite card, you have the figure carrying his past on his back in that sack. Here you have Zeus's son emerging from the cave as his new beginning. The goat's horns on the fool's brow suggest that, like the animal skins he wears, you see him wearing a foxtail and animal skins here, like the animal skins that he wears, that he is a young animal, driven into life by instinct, not yet conscious or possessed of understanding. And to me, that links right back to the Little Mermaid card, right? The same sort of energy in that card, the same sort of thing with the Little Mermaid, right? Literally an animal, like an animal transforming into a human, if you consider a mermaid to be an animal. But he embodies that animalistic nature, right? He embodies that kind of goat horn, animal skin, native almost energy there. On an inner level, the madness of this figure here seems mad only to the part of us which is bound to the world of form, facts, and logical order. Okay, and this really speaks to, in my opinion, that spiritual awakening, right? That journey that you're taking right now. On the divinatory level, there is a risk of some kind required, and almost a willingness to jump out into the unknown, past the fear, past the potential downfalls, pitfalls, and just doing it. Just get started. Just do it. I just got this new journal that I really like, because it's like, here in the front cover even, we can begin by doing small things, right? A small thing is a start. If you have an idea, start it, do it, try it. One step isn't going to set you back. And if it does, maybe it'll set you back 3 steps, but keep going, right? Have that new beginning excitement. And then the last one I have a interpretation for, a pre-written interpretation for almost here, is this one. I love this deck. This is the Spirit Song Tarot. Here's the box, the front of this. And this is another case, just like with the D&D deck, where the suits are different, right? The suits are not the cups, the wands, the swords, the pentacles, or the discs. The suits are, in this case, you can see on the back, the acorns for wands, the feathers for swords, the shells for cups, and the crystals for coins. And we'll, of course, talk about that more as we get through this deck and all of these decks. But in this case, what we have is the gazelle, right? We have a gazelle depicted in this card, kind of leaping over all this beautiful foliage, leaping into the sun, right? And the key words literally on this card, every card of this deck has keywords written on it, is adventure and potential, right? We have a new experience. Literally, the gazelle is taking a leap of faith, spontaneous adventure, potential and freedom, and even almost childlike energy, right? The gazelle seeker of new adventures and the explorer of new paths. And the gazelle in this case too, I feel is very comfortable in his own vulnerability. Like he's leaping and not caring, just like the traditional interpretation of the Fool, right? He's harnessing youthful enthusiasm that's going to help fuel new experiences and bring forth a bright new future. He just needs to remember, just like the theme in all of these decks, he just needs to remember to look where he's going, but also allow himself to go with the flow of life here. Now, the last card I'm going to talk about in this series is this is actually the first deck I bought when I really started up with the interest of reading tarot. This is the Cthulhu Dark Arts Tarot. And here, let me take Spirit Song away, and let's put this front and center here. This Fool card. Now, the story behind this deck is, it's the first deck I bought before I really knew. I mean, I was kind of venturing out and doing my own thing with the tarot, but I kind of didn't really know it was going to be a thing for me at the time. So I was a fool and didn't really, well, I'm not going to call myself a fool, but what happened is I lost the little manual for this deck. And I don't know if anybody out there watching has ever lost the manual to one of their favorite decks before, but it's one of those feelings of like, oh man, did I really do that? I lost it. Oh well. So what we're going to do in this series for these cards, the Cthulhu cards, at least for the major arcana and for the suit cards, or the court cards, apologies, is I'm going to just interpret it based on looking at it almost fresh. Like I've looked at all these cards before too, but I'm really going to hone in on what I see in these cards and the interpretation of the traditional card. Okay, so here we have the Fool. Okay, the Cthulhu Dark Arts Tarot interpretation of the Fool. And what I notice first about this card is this figure, this man, he has a beard, so we're going to call him a man, is emerging from this nasty pool, right? And you can see in the background these people, these figures, even one almost dying. Like this is a very dark deck. I use this deck when I need to get like to the bottom of darkness, right? I use Thoth when I need to just get to shit, like get to the bottom of shit. But this deck specifically brings out or highlights the darkness in things. And in this case, this man dressed like a court jester is emerging from this nasty pool that seems to be being created by these figures in the background, to the point where there's even dying figures in the pool. Like it's nasty, right? But what we see at the top of the card is like a split of sun and moon. He's going toward the night side, the moon side, the darkness side. He's also carrying a key and what appears to be not just a musical instrument, but I kind of see this as a wand as well. So I really like this interpretation of the Fool. He's even carrying almost a pinnacle. Like you almost have a disc there. Of course, the cups suit of this deck is the skulls. This is another one of those decks that doesn't use the traditional suits, but it's not written on the back, so we'll have to go with it as we go since I don't have the book. But yeah, so you see he also seems to be holding a tablet of tools, so he might be even some type of academic or intellectual. This looks like one of those compasses, and then he's got like that tablet with stuff written on it. So maybe he's even got his new beginning potential in multiple different areas. Like maybe he could be a key master or a musician or an intellect, an academic, or that even almost looks like a calculator, like one of those old-fashioned calculators. But he seems to be emerging from the sludge, emerging from the darkness, emerging from the bad. He might be going into the night, but, you know, we all have our dark night of the soul. And his new beginning is emerging from filth, from sludge, right? He is breaking free from those bonds and those chains. So there we have it, the interpretation of the Fool card and the 8 decks that I have. Again, we're going to continue this series moving forward into the coming weeks. I'll do a Sunday study every day, or every Sunday, not every day. That would take me a while. So we will, of course, we began with the Fool card, and we will, of course, do card number 1, the Magician, next Sunday, so be sure to tune in for that. As well as I have these sacred protection bracelets, sacred communication protection bracelets for sale in my Etsy shop. So shameless plug for that. But if you're interested in that bracelet that's depicted here, look in the comments, or not the comments, the description of this video. If there is not a link in the description of this video, please DM me on Facebook or Instagram, and I will send you that information. Of course, on Facebook and Instagram, I am at Space Rocks Tarot, just like I am here on YouTube. So make sure you tune in next week for our Sunday study of card number 1, the Magician, the action card, the power to manifest card. And every day you can tune in, or you can look at Instagram or Facebook to see my daily card reading, as well as there's some other stuff I have planned for the future, so keep an eye on the YouTube channel. Thank you all again for tuning in to Space Rocks Tarot. I'll see you all next week.